Hi. Very often people have spoken about focus and how we tend to lose focus or we get distracted very often in any activity that we may do. Even as something as important or and simple as listening to someone, we get distracted. So there's a story where this is way back during Gautam Buddha's time, and as you know, he was called the Enlightened One, Shakyamuni, and he had a lot of disciples, but there were few very close disciples of his. So this happened with one of his close disciples. So there was this king who was very popular. He was a good king, good governance, looked after his people, and he had his fingers in many things. Obviously, being a king, he had to look into many things, apart from protecting the kingdom, the welfare of his people, so on and so forth. So the problem with him was that he would get distracted very easily. He would do something, then his mind would go somewhere else, and he'd start doing something else, then his mind would go somewhere else. So it would be like one, ping pong ball going up and down, which exhausted him, which got him frustrated many, many times. And he was really disturbed by this thing that was happening to him, of him losing focus, of him getting distracted all the time. He wanted a solution. So he sent the word out to all the great scholars and the medicine men, come and solve my problem. I have to get over this. It is driving me nuts. So one day, one of his courtiers come and tell him that, look, there is this monk who's outside the city limits in his ashram. Why don't you go and meet him? Apparently, he's got a solution for everything. Every kind of problem, this man has got a solution. So the king said, why not? Because I desperately need it. Nobody else could sort it out for him. In fact, they would come up with more questions and that would perturb him even more. So one fine day, he took this journey. It took him, it was a day's journey out of the city, close to the forest. He went to this ashram, and as he entered the ashram, he sees this man, a monk basically, gardening, planting some seeds, removing some weeds. So he goes to him and he thinks he's a gardener. So he looks at him and he says that, look, I'd like to meet the owner of this place. So the man looks at him very calmly with a smile on his face. So why don't you go and sit there? He'll be there shortly. So the king goes and sits. After a few minutes, a gentleman appears. The king looks at him and immediately recognizes him. He says, I just met you, you're the gardener. He says, yes, I am the gardener. I am the person who's also going to listen to what you have to say. I am the person who looks after this ashram and all these people. So tell me, king, how can I help you? So the king tells him that, look, this is my problem. I get distracted, I lose focus. So the monk smiles at him and he says, no problem. I can help you out. But you'll have to do one exercise before I give you the answer. I said, yes, I'll do anything. He says, look, here's a pot of water. I want you to go to the garden and start watering each plant. As you water each plant, be wary of the fact that the moment your mind diverts from the activity, which is you're pouring water to that plant without creating a mess, the moment you get distracted or your mind diverts, you will go back to the first plant and start watering all over again. Do this exercise. It looks pretty simple. Takes a bowl of water, goes to the garden and starts watering the first plant. He waters the first plant, goes to the second, goes to the third. His mind suddenly races back to his kingdom, his garden. How would the plants be? How are the flowers? And he says, oh God, I'm thinking of something else. He goes back to the first plant again as per instruction. Now this exercise continues at least 5 to 6 times over, and then he realizes he's just not able to go beyond 5 plants. He gets distracted and he gets more and more frustrated. So he comes back to the monk and he says, I'm just not able to. So the monk smiles and he says, what do you see? So he says, I put my attention to this, I pour water to one plant, but the moment I go to the second or third, my mind is going somewhere else. So he says, are you doing the activity as an activity, or are you putting your heart into the activity? Are you doing the activity as an activity? Let me do it, let me finish it quickly so that I can move to the next one. Are you doing it that way, or are you putting all your energy, all your heart into just that activity, which is pouring water for that plant? This got the king thinking. This is true. I'm actually treating everything I do as an activity. There is no heart to it. I am not there. I'm not involved as an individual with a little passion in it, so that I complete the activity, yes, but I do it properly. I do it with some sense of belonging. I do it with some kind of quality input put into the activity. Then what he does, he repeats the whole thing again the next day. The next day, he is able to complete all 12 plants that were planted in that garden. That's when he comes back to the monk, bows, and he says, "Oh Master, you have explained it in such a manner no one else could have done it, with such simplicity. Thank you so much." So then the monk says, "All right, Your Majesty, now tell me before you leave, what did you understand?" So the king says, "I was not doing it with my heart and soul. I was not treating this activity as mine. I was either going in the past or I was running into the future. I was not here in the present, and that's the reason why I was losing focus. Whether it's an activity or whether I'm supposed to listen to some of my subjects, I was doing the same thing in every bit of action that I was conducting. I have understood this now, that I need to be in the present. I need to be involved in the present and take each activity as it comes." How do you conduct your activities? Are you focused, or are you also distracted? Thereby, you may get a result, but that result is not the quality you want, or the result is not the way you want it, or it's not completed, it's half completed and you have to redo the whole thing. So give it a thought. What do you need to do to stay focused? You have to find your way. And only then will you be happy with the result. Only then will you be happy with yourself. Give it a shot.